All right, let's read through this post. So, this is posted in the forums, general discussion. Petition to save the game from being reduced to one single mission. Please interact so devs can see this. This is probably the post that has the most amount of traction that I've seen within the past year. So you can see replies generally. I mean, here's 17. That's pretty high. This is the 52 one. That's the petition one. 52. If you just go through the list of forum posts, you just don't get that much traction. Here's the last one, 44, and that was Slime Casino feedback. 53 on the Cyber Monday wish list, which is just people posting what they hope is gonna appear. 713 here, fashion appreciation thread. What the hell? Okay, well, we're not gonna beat that one, but that's from 2012. Anyway, I'm just saying, it's pretty damn popular. It's like a quarter of our active player base. Unironically, yeah. Unironically, yeah. That's crazy. All right, devs, you have a gem of a game on your hands, and I believe you can get a huge influx on returning, and in turn, also new players, if you simply change the game revolving one goddamn mission. Right? Let's zoom in. That's a bit bigger. We, the players, are simple-minded creatures, and given the chance, we will always optimize the fun out of a game. The problem is that Firestorm Citadel is by far the most efficient content to run in the game at the moment, and people will lose their goddamn minds if they keep farming it. Nothing is interesting after you've done it 100 times, and people will get tired and quit. Here's an alternative, the arcade. Specifically, launching Clockwork Expeditions from the gates is brilliant, fun, and very replayable. You need to either buff the arcade run so people get a similar amount of currency in a similar amount of time as an FSC run, simply put currency divided by unit of time. Even more simply put, I want to be able to dedicate 2 hours to arcade runs, and I want to get rewarded a similar amount of currency as running FSC for 2 hours. Or a more lazy solution, please don't take this one, nerf Firestorm Citadel, potentially all missions, in order to bring it in line with the arcade runs. This is because missions can be spammed and they are inherently not balanced in their current state. Instantly teleporting to a more valuable depth with more resources brings us to players optimizing the fun out of the game and just spamming the same thing over and over again. Here's a simple idea that should fix things. Make a system so that if a player enters an arcade run and goes all the way to the lowest depth, he gets a flat bonus of currency, crowns or orbs or crystals or all three as a reward at the final elevator before returning to Haven. If you want to take this even further, you can implement these checkpoints at various depths of your choosing and give smaller bonuses on the way so that people can choose to leave at earlier depths and still get rewarded a smaller amount of stuff. Oh, and you could also steal OSRS's system, that's old school RuneScape, system of asking the players what changes should be done to the game and what content should be added. If you agree, please leave a comment so we can increase visibility on this. If you don't, please let me know why, and maybe we can work on an improved solution. Edit. Add in from a comment I made a bit further down. Also, whatever mechanic would be implemented so that flat bonus you get at the elevator would scale with the number of enemies killed in the whole arcade run. That is cool. It would discourage rush tactics in case Van is at the end of it, and it would also encourage full exploration of the level so that people get to see all the hidden corners and rooms, kill all the enemies, and have all the fun. Love that. I think also if they were to implement something like this where they start tracking enemy kills, oh my god, tell me that this would not be so fun, is to have a damage tracker or a kill tracker in parties. Imagine running a lobby in a party and then you have a side tracking thing that tracks the amount of kills that each player has contributed. And then you have basically the top contributor in the run and you can see who's doing more output. It'd be so fun to compete in runs, and that's also a lot of content that I could do. Low-key, I'm just thinking about that side of things as well. I could make a lot of videos of people doing challenges of who can do more damage with what weapons, that sort of thing. Anyway, basically just more tracking mechanics in the game would be very, very cool. Me who runs 4 mist bombs. I mean, mist bombs would be a lot of damage. Arcade is the perfect testbed for bro-like mechanics. Yeah, no, I think this is it's such a simple. It's not even simple. It's more this is the obvious solution, or I honestly think this is the intended way that the game was meant to be played. I think arcade. So when the game first released, it was actually only arcade. There were no missions. The only thing you do was run arcade the whole way through. Then they introduced missions, but I think the entire idea was that you should be doing arcade because there's a lot of variance in running the arcade. There's a lot of different types of floors that you run through. It's more interesting. It's varied in that sense. It's very clear that was meant to be an integral part of the game. I think one of the ways that they went wrong was when they removed mineral crystals, changing the gates, having a way that you can change the gates yourself, the community. I think that's a very cool aspect. It's one of those things that is like, you know, Spiral Knights is marketed as an MMO, even though it's not. But those MMO aspects came through in things like that, when the whole play base gets a chance to deposit minerals and affect what, you know, arcade gates get picked. That's like an MMO aspect. That's that community building aspect. When the game initially released, they had so many things like that. Like even the revive system. I don't understand why we got rid of the revive system where you can revive your allies by healing them with your own HP. Like that's such a fun multiplayer aspect of the game. I don't understand why they took that out. Anyway, those are kind of side tangents. Arcade as like the solution is brilliant because it's varied already. It already has that difference in the thing. All it needs is just, yeah, buffed rewards. I think there's definitely issues of, you know, if you buff rewards only at tier 3, then there's no point in running tiers 1, tier 2. And then, or it's like, is it even fun? Do I really want to run in tier 1 and just one-shot all the enemies? Personally, I enjoy that. I don't know if a lot of other people enjoyed it, and it probably would get boring if that was all that you were doing. So maybe you do want to stick within the tier. And also, if you have rewards available to everyone, because, you know, anyone can really access the arcade. You can only go so far down the arcade, but if the arcade becomes really overpowered, you have to think about it in the way that it affects progression in the game as well. For a new player joining the game, if the arcade is, I don't know, set up in a way that you gain a lot of rewards from it, that changes the, you know, it impacts so many other aspects you might not be thinking about in terms of progression for those players. So it's just, you know, you do have to be mindful of how you toggle it. But I think what Raiden's come up with is a really smart solution. Basically having a checkpoint or like a guaranteed reward at the end. Because obviously with the variants, you are going to get different enemies. You are going to get different amounts of loot through the floors. And just having a way that you're guaranteed a set amount of rewards at the end is great. This would be amazing if we had a way that you can get a, you know, tracking the amount of enemies and rewarding exploring everything and rewarding killing. That's great as well. I think all of that makes a lot of sense. If there were no missions, we'd be going down Emerald and heading to Vanna. Yeah, which I think that's what people did back in the day. The main reason why they removed it, I think, is because people dumped only blue and green into the gates because of the battle sprites. Everything was always the same. Ah. That makes sense. I do think that's just a toggleable issue, though. Like, why not just have a different material then? Like, get rid of the blue and green crystals, keep the current crystals as they are for battle sprite food, introduce another drop that then affects the gate. You know, like, it still have the same system, just give it a different material. Like, you could just separate it. Or what they probably should have done is just not had crystals affect feeding battle sprites. You know, if they just used a different material for feeding the battle sprites, then we wouldn't have had that problem in the first place. But, you know, that would have been a pretty simple way. Overall, I think this is a great idea. I honestly don't have much to say outside of, yeah, I actually do quite agree with this. I'm curious to see what people say and other ideas. There's definitely a lot more that you can expand. Like, I think one of the issues with the arcade is, to be honest, I have played a lot of it and it is at the point of being boring. I think you're going to run into that problem with a lot of older players. Like, we've just played, the game's been out for so long, we have played most, if not all of the arcade floors. And I get very bored, particularly with the same structure. There's an arcade archetype of a floor, and it's those boring puzzle rooms or just like tedious things that aren't hard to clear, aren't interesting, and really make the arcade tedious and make me not want to go through it. I love a lot of the floors, like the introduced sleep floors, the jelly floors. Those are gorgeous, beautiful. I love the themed floors, like the Scarlet Fortress. I love the slime one. I love the sleep ones. I love all of those. Those are a lot more enjoyable to play. Those core, like, Clockworks arcade floors, I think leave a lot to be desired. I just think that they need to work on the puzzle aspects of that. I think they need to, like, rejig those. So I would like to see some new floors. Maybe that comes in with the Colosseum Crucible. You know, if they expand the Crucible to add PvE, then we get the community to make some new stuff, and that would be very cool. But in terms of concept, swapping away from Vanadru, going into arcade, 100% makes sense. Let's do it. Okay. I do agree. Honestly, when I saw they would add missions, I thought I would be like a random NPC spawning in arcade, giving you the quest and thus opening the path where you must do the quest. But when I saw they were teleport missions and repeatable, I knew this would happen. I recall Nick said he wanted to overhaul arcade, like make missions only for the lore and arcade for looting and profit. For me, this was the best, but sadly, this was before he left the company. That makes so much sense. This is what I'm talking about. Like that feels like the intended case for it. Saddens me every time I want to play Spiral Knight, a good arcade run. I'm always alone because people don't want to run anything that isn't FSC due to the profit, predictable pattern, and speed running it, and everything that Party Finder is FSC runs. For me, I wouldn't mind if they nerf missions like they did with the Gauntlet. I remember that one was a tier 3 arena like arcade, but later was changed to its custom design that they have now. There may have been suggestions on how to make it, but sadly, all those wouldn't work until missions get nerfed. I don't think we need nerf missions. Honestly, the game is already slow as is. I think just buff things, like buff loots in arcade. I think that's the bigger thing, rather than nerfing. Don't take things away from us. Come on. Nothing can't beat a Savannah speedrun. You still get a good profit even if you don't kill all plus tokens. 100%. If missions still made you go through arcade and travel to the desired depth, I think that would be a lot better. I don't think that's what they're saying. Go through the arcade to then do the mission. I don't know about that because I think missions make sense as they are. Like you just teleport into the mission. Oh, I see. That's what he was saying at the start here. I like keeping them separate. Sorry, I did misread that. You were right, Ziflex. I like keeping them separate. I don't like the idea of going through the arcade to then get into a mission because that just adds so much time. I remember, especially as a kid, like hopping onto Spiral Nights, you know, you don't have that much time all the time. I might have 30 minutes. It's like just enough time to smack out a mission. I wouldn't have time to run through an arcade and then go into a mission run after that. Like, it's just too long. I'm just not going to read a lot of what Haddon says because most of the time he's just trolling. Are things too slow or are we just too fast now? Head in hands. Where things are too slow. The game needs to be... You know, an interesting side point, again... Pyro Sparker has made this point a lot in his videos. It's basically like whenever he introduces the game to his friends, and then they get to the point of getting speed buffs or getting Black Cat and totems, it's like the game should just be played at that pace. The game is so slow. It doesn't make sense. Like more move speed, I think maybe it's just the general, like we as gamers have gotten a lot better, a lot more adaptable at games. I think what people seek is faster gameplay, and just upping the speed of your character changes so much of the game. It feels infinitely better once you get Black Cat. It's like game changing how much the speed difference affects things. So much more fun. And I think like just have that as the base movement speed. I feel like it's move speed should just be for everyone, I feel like. But that's again, major side point. No nerfs. I agree that the loot should definitely, I agree with this guy. King Junk Oink, great name. 100V increase in the arcade. I spent like an hour running tier 3 arcade and I only get on average like 4k crowns. Yeah, it's a joke. And I love to take my time in the arcade because it's fun. FSC gives you like 8k in 20 minutes or so. So yeah, that's kind of messed up. How much of an increase? I don't know. That is up to the devs to figure out. I don't know about the simple idea you have there. Just increase the loot, that's it. But I'm completely against nerfing the loot. That's what I would say. Or any nerf that matter. It will make the game worse for normal players and even new players, yeah. Groove buffs, disgroove nerfs. Yep. There's already so many unsatisfying elements in Spiral Knights that nerfing popular choices, or rather, in terms of missions to farm crowns, will just make everyone unhappy. Also, it will allow players to experience a high variety of levels, so buffing arcade itself in one way or another, buff other level types so they include better rewards in later depths, or even just allowing for people to access depth 28 levels quicker would go a long way. Spiral Knights has a lot of content that barely gets visited heavily by most players because usually the extrinsic reward is simply far too unsatisfying. So I think doing something to make literally anything that isn't FSC more appealing would be appreciated. I just like the way that this guy wrote. I don't think he added much new to the conversation outside of agreeing. But I like the way that he wrote it. I like the use of the word extrinsic. Ooh, and the bold font. You have to do HTML coding to put the bold in. You have to like do the side sign /B or whatever to then bold it. Not many people know about this in the forums. My goat, Ladrid. Nice post. Zeddy, I'd give a one-time bonus for clearing each stratum of a gate. The first time you reach the end of a stratum, you'd get all your pickups doubled, possibly tripled, or doubled plus a flat bonus. Encourages running every new gate once from start to finish, while exhaustively looting everything rather than speedrunning. And returning to the game where there's a new gate, regular check-ins like Mist used to make us do. Running every new gate from start to finish. Your all your pickups doubled, possibly tripled, or doubled plus a flat bonus. I mean, pickups really don't matter. I don't know about that. I wouldn't care about that. But in terms of rewards, give a great yield of reward for your playtime. Should you only be getting on and running new strats, coasting you towards a healthy 2 to 3 hours a few times in a week. Think of your thoughts. Wouldn't mind nerfs either, but I'm sure 99% of the community would riot. Yep. Don't do that. Agree with everything. Also, yeah, my idea is probably not the best solution. I'm sure others have proposed. I think his idea is actually really good. I don't think it's bad at all. I agree with everything. We need something done. Anything. It's a shame to have unused content when we are not even getting any new one. I honestly, even for right now, I wouldn't mind if they just added more normal missions into the arcade. You know how we have the boss missions? Some of the late game missions, like especially the new missions that were released, like everything past 9.3, they're actually really cool missions, and you're just not incentivized to run them that much. I think just adding them into the arcade just for a little bit of like mix up could be kind of interesting, because they're really cool missions. Like there's actually good puzzling in there. There's good design. Super cool. Like that Vanna remake one where you walk across chains, so fun. Another excellent idea. Anything that makes me run all gates at least once is a great change already. Agreed. Although I would love being able to play arcade non-stop like FSC and be rewarded nicely for it, for some reason the devs want to implement this as some sort of dailies. It's still a positive change and I would gladly take it. We have dailies. Like this is what I don't understand. Like arcade should not be a dailies thing, I don't think. Because we have dailies, which is prestige. Prestige is your dailies. Arcade should be repeatable. I think thinking of it as a roguelike is the exact like perfect way to think about it. What do you think of daily, weekly arcade bounties where you get crown payouts for kill 100? Okay, that type of thing, I don't mind. Yeah, I think that's fine. Like a daily, weekly bounty system. Mini bosses like the Collector of the Lightning Gremlin boss fight would be kind of neat in arcade. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like some of the missions, definitely the cooler missions should be added in. I think there's some great ones. Sputter Spark, my goat. Bro, imagine like you're doing arcade and then you meet up with Rendon randomly. You know, and you're getting the core of the arcade. Okay, maybe not that one. Maybe there's some like lore ones that you can't really add in. Imagine you're running arcade and you run into Arcus. How cool would that be? You run into the mission with Arcus and you're like, holy shit, we're doing the Arcus mission. Like that'd be so cool. Retrofit, my goat. I love this guy. Dude, shout out Retrofit. Rare. Just make Shadowlayers free to run so endgame players have something else to farm and run with their bleeding edge gear. Agreed. Definitely make them cheaper. They should be like 100 energy to go in. I don't know why they're 1800 and it's insane. Make them way cheaper. 5 USD for a single attempt at a single endgame dungeon is ludicrous and insane, especially in this gaming market where you can go and buy and play an entirely different game for that price. Seriously, I can buy 4 keys or I can just go buy and play Helldivers. Who do you really think people are going to choose? I don't know what they're trying to fool with that. That's a great addition. Shadowlayers being cheaper. This is a bit of a different point. It's less on the arcade thing, but I agree with Retro. Some though, Absolium. Buffing the arcade via a flat bonus or doubling the loot is interesting, but it needs a way to not happen if you do the boss via the arcade. Otherwise, people just gonna farm the arcade gate leading to FSC. I like the idea of tweaking the price of Shadowlayer, setting it so the overall gain of Shadowlayer loot minus gate. Actually, I just realized Shadowlayers are part of arcade because you do arcade to get to the Shadowlayer. I'm an idiot. Never mind. So it is on point. Never mind. Retrofit, my goat. You can never do wrong. Or is slightly higher than the one of an FSC run would be a good way of doing it. I would really like to have a tier 4 arcade set run, having the elevator going down into the core. This could not need extra level gear. Yeah, tier 4 arcade. I've always thought this. Why not just scale enemies infinitely? Like that is ideal to me. Even more ideal, I love Dreams and Nightmares. If they cut out all of the precursor to the last arena, where you just have those waves like spawning, and then just have that endlessly going, oh my god, that'd be the best. Like if I could just log into a mission and just be instantly into an arena and it just go infinite, so fun. I think there's an issue of replayability there. I think doing it like an arcade as infinite would be very cool. Like just keep scaling it would be super interesting. Like a tier 4, tier 5, tier 6, and you basically just go until you can't anymore. And that's pretty easy to implement because it's the same enemies, same system, same everything. All you do is just change the stats of enemies, which that's not hard to do. E-looting on the ground. And over there, no way to one-shot a Trojan horse. And another idea would be to move the Shadowlayer over there, rotating every week or a day or something. That's a great idea as well. Tier 4, and then it goes straight into a Shadowlayer for free. Love it. Overall, no nerf. Yep, just adding some extra ways to make crowns energy at a similar rate than FSC, 20 to 30k crowns an hour when you made 5-star in a crew. Great points by Obsidian. I like it a lot. Infinite scaling roguelike. Cinema. Or just higher difficulty in loot. Maybe higher radiant looting rate in tier 4. Oh my god, radiance, yes. Let's remove the forge. Hey! Gameplay wise, it's a horrendous 2010 consumer exploiting mechanic. That being said, make the Shadow Lair a good place to level up gear could be awesome. What if there is a Vanguard level besides Elite on the bosses of the arcade? So the Vanguard difficulty rewards 5-star orbs and good heat and crowns. No need to change any layer of those levels, just the amount per boxes. Savannah Duke Twins, Jelly, and Snarbucks gives roughly the same amount of rewards on Vanguard difficulty. That'd be cool. The same bosses, but upped rewards. I like that idea. Now you're equally rewarded for wanting to go to any boss, not just one. The difficulty is a bit hard. You can't one-shot everything. The rewards are good compared to time difficulty reward equation. Does that work? I like that idea. That's a cool idea. My issue with that is this is just kind of delaying the problem. Like right now, the problem is we have one mission, which is Vanajuk. If you just change it to then you're farming 4 bosses, that's great. It's four times better. But then we're still gonna just be stuck on like 4 bosses. It's still the same problem, you know? Whereas if it's a bit more wider where arcade just generally gives you better loot and that's scaled to a level where it's equal to Vanajuk, then there's a lot more variance and there's a lot more interest and it, you know, gets you into the whole arcade run system, which is a lot better. I'd agree on buffing the payout for a full run on the Clockworks. I've only just restarted playing Spiral Knights and stopped around 2018, and it was already hard enough making crowns without going insane from farming the Duke. I'd rather run through all 28 layers with its variety than run one single mission ad infinitum. Let's agree with what retrofit on Shadow Layers, they're just not worth doing. Good point. Agree with Shadow Layers. It's another piece of unused content as they're simply not worth, which is a shame. Also, whatever mechanic would be implemented so that the flat bonus you get on the elevator would scale with the number of enemies killed in the whole arcade run. I love this. You discouraged rush tactics in case this is the thing that he posted at the start. It's such a cool concept, man. Every game, I don't know if you guys play like idle games. I'm an idle game fiend. I fucking love it. My favorite thing, this is a common concept in any game, is numbers go up. It's just satisfying. It just is. If we added more tracking mechanics, you know what's so sad? You know how in Spiral Knights you have like the friend system where it shows you, it has like a weekly thing of like, your friend is the most crown rewarded person in your friend list. Like they've got the most crowns this week. But it just doesn't work. It's just not accurate. If they had that, but accurate, it'd be so cool. And also like a version that was in live parties. That'd be so fun. I just want to see numbers go up, man. But what if, if I want to Shiver Miss Bust and Top a Tantrum all the levels while I explore every switch and room? Why should I get less crowns for not going murder hobo? If I explored everything, I get your point, the mobs on the map shouldn't be the only thing we need to search for and shouldn't be a speed bump. The game should feel good for different playstyles, not enforcing playstyles gives them space. I will say, there is always going to be a meta and like a best way to play a game. I don't think you can kill that idea, but I do think you can get a game to a point where things are comparable or like it's still okay or worthwhile doing. Like if you want to be a bomber, you should be able to play the game and be a bomber and it feel okay. It might not be the best way to play the game, it might not be the most efficient, but you should still feel decently rewarded. I'm not for like everything should be equal, every playstyle should be the exact same. I'm not a big fan of that. It's not that I'm not a fan of that. I think that's cool, but I just think it's like impossible / not realistic to implement in any game. Or the game would have to be like very drastically shifted to make that work. It's just not going to happen. Like certain things are going to be better against certain enemies. That's the way it is. I think, yeah, I don't know. I've said my spiel. Exactly. We also need bombs that do good damage. Bombs that do good. I think bombs, they reworked bombs. I need to rework it again because I think the rework actually made bombs weaker, unfortunately. They just gutted shard bombs, and shard bombs are the only like actually good damaging bombs. It's sad. Imagine if you had a rating system at each death based on your performance, taking damage kills, and you could get S- rating, get more crowns based off that. Dude, that'd be so sick. Oh, I'd love it. Taking damage as well, yes. Oh my god, I'm in heaven. I would love that. Then you get. I hate my. This is not my number one gripe, but I'm just gonna pretend that it is for the sake of this argument. My number one gripe with the game is the fucking automatic revive in the game. I despise it. I despise it with so much of my body because it just means that there is no point in playing safe and smart. It doesn't matter. I should play suicidal because it's more efficient to kill myself and do maximum damage because I have a free revive anyway. And I just think that's just shit. It's just not fun. It means that I don't care about enemies. It means that I run into them. It's a resource. E-Rev is a resource. I hate it. I hate it so much. If you made it so that dying is actually punishing, then it changes the way that you play the game. It means that enemies, you actually have to take care a lot more. It gets more interesting. That's more of an issue of like people who play the game a lot and are good. And, you know, I think mostly revive helps people who are worse at the game for sure. But on the flip side, like on my end, it makes it so unfun. I get what you're saying, Jaikano, but that playstyle would fall into the category of speedrunning, rushing the levels, but especially promoting the playstyle of rushing elevators with a currency bonus or just trying to get down to Vanderduke as soon as possible. We'll be creating another min-maxing situation, another unfun meta. I respect your opinion, Raiden, but I don't want to derail the main topic, so I'll eventually focus back on the topic at hand, but I firmly believe that the speedrunning playstyle or any metagame playstyle should be here to stay. Agreed. In Spiral Knights and in all video games. It's a playstyle that sits very well with others, and I'm sure by mere uneducated speculation that many gamers love to mix up their playstyles. To condemn speedrunning or a meta playstyle is just not right and even impossible. I'd argue that there is literally a meta in every single... This is kind of what I was saying. Is there a meta playstyle in Tetris? There is. It's just inevitable, and speedrunning is one of them. I like my good mix of casual and hardcore gaming, meta or not. I personally find metagaming to be fun, but I don't want to argue about this. It will derail the main topic. Those are just my 2 cents regarding the mechanics he suggested. That is if they implement them. In my very humble opinion, I believe the most easiest thing for all of us, for the community and the developers of Spiral Knights, is to first simply increase the loot drop from monsters and treasure boxes in the arcade, which I personally view as a foundation for more mechanics suggested by the community to be implemented into Spiral Knights. Perfection. Perfection. Easiest thing for Grey Havens is just up the loot drops, and that's already a good solution. And then they can head into like more of these other interesting ideas. Well said. Indeed, that would be a completely separate discussion in itself. The only thing I will say is that an enemy kill count counting towards elevator bonuses would not eliminate speedrunning at all. It would probably just eliminate completely cheese strategies. But yeah, we don't know if our discussion will ever be taken into consideration. Dude, I wonder if like enemy kill count and then you just go into compounds because then you just like kill the respawning bunnies all the time. That might be a problem. Respawning enemies might be a problem. But yeah, we don't even know if our discussion will ever be taken into consideration in the first place. We'll get lucky to get a simple increase in overall arcade drops. +1. The only thing I will say is that an enemy kill count, I see if that's the case, then all is good. Not a bad suggestion at all if I say so myself. I agree. The Clockworks arcade is the most interesting part of the game. It's very replayable and fun, but FSC is so much more rewarding. Of course, it's a difficult boss, so it should be rewarding, but the difference right now is just too much. I'd be fine with nerfing the loot in FSC. No! The Clockworks should really be the endgame grind. Yes. I'd rather play tier 3 over and over, at least the zone changes, unlike Banner. Agreed. Input from an old and returning veteran. Ooh, cool. FSC is lauded for its efficiency because you get crowns, materials, exclusive tokens you can exchange for gear that you can sell for even more crowns, and obviously Radiant Fire crystals. If I'm on a tier 3 arcade run, I'm lucky if I manage to get a minimum of 3 Radiants each time, and right now that is the problem that many active players are dealing with. Quite frankly, if the GMs were to alter the appearance, rate, frequency of which fire crystals appear by stratum, 6 types, 6 stratums should be simple, right? People would have much more incentive to run arcade gates than they would have to run missions over and over. As it stands now, with how many Radiants I have left to collect, that's not really any incentive for me to not farm and grind FSC, specifically because of how infrequently Radiant Fire Crystals will drop in any tier 3 run. I think when they were saying like up the rewards, I think that includes Radiant Fire Crystals. It would make sense to increase all the drops. Like, I get the point, but I feel like that's disingenuous to what the argument is being made earlier. If you're only getting an average of around 4k crowns from tier 3 runs and you aren't playing on elite difficulty, I average a minimum of 8k crowns. And that's if there aren't any falls in arena, or if I decide that certain danger rooms aren't worth the hassle. What? Given the low end or near abysmal frequency of rating drops in depth 28, 528, entering any danger room or unlocking any energy gate above at least depth 26 is an absolute no-no for me. This, I don't know if this is true. I haven't, it's been a long time since I've done a full arcade run, but I think like 8k crowns feels like, no, full arcade run is about 16k crowns from the top of my head. So maybe it's right. Tier 3, you might get about 8k crowns. It just takes longer because you're doing basically a full Vanna run plus another 5 floors, which is, yeah, just not worth it time-wise. All they have to do is let the arcade go up to depth 94 instead of ending at 28. Exactly, Pixel Pig. You've got it. Or As I said, infinite arcade. Come on, man. Also input from an old returning veteran. The fire crystal need to go along with the forge. Where? Hell and never return. Yes. So don't drop it if where more crystal as a solution, because that is the problem there, where then shouldn't be at all. As annoying as the implementation of the forge and the new alchemy systems may have been for some players, things are somewhat worse when you had to spend energy to use elevators. Taking away something that the player base back then considered bad. Why not just have neither of them? Why do we need to pay for elevators and have or have the forge system? Why can't we just have neither? That was bad back when we had it, and it was the reason I didn't play much at the time. You only had 100 per day and spent 10 per elevator use, if I remember correctly. So yes, the forge is better, but it's still flawed. I genuinely think if they removed the ability to fail gear leveling by using less crystals, more people would be inclined to come back. I'm not opposed to using more crystals, I just don't think it's fair to lose all your materials if you fail on an 80% forge. That's just stupid and vile. I don't know about you guys, I never do anything but 100%, because there's no way I'm gonna cop it if I lose an 80% forge chance. I'm just gonna fucking end my life. That's stupid and vile. Maybe if you got back to the same percentage of mats and only lost a bit, it'd be a fairer solution while still pushing people to use up more crystals. Also, yes, more Braden set 24, 28 on any gate. Only FSC gives me about 15, 21 rads. Yes. Imagine if when forging your gear, you could choose instead of CTR low, medium, you could do damage or ASI instead, and you could prestige your weapon if you wanted to swap it. That would make it at least somewhat worth the crystals. I mean, that's insane bonuses though. 80% is a lie, it's actually 50-50. That's what you're right. It either applies or it doesn't. Exactly, Riku. You're right. It's a 50-50 odd. Do not put work. Okay, this is getting a little drama heavy. Did I say put back paid elevators? No. Cutting someone legs to give the crutches doesn't make you a saint nor a doctor. Makes you a butcher. Had to be balanced by putting something else in its place. How about no, you don't need to put crap because those are 2010 predatory design archetypes. Today, we don't pay elevator. We won't pay elevator. We don't want forge. Why? Player progression retention, and don't even try to justify anything. The forge has to go. Stop mixing crap with more or less. Smell that is still crap. Remove it the once and for bro. You need help. I'm sorry. What are these capitalizations? We're losing the plot. We're losing the plot. I appreciate the enthusiasm, JC Rano, but come on. Who was the guy? I don't want to scroll up because I'm gonna lose my place. But that guy who made the really concise and used the word exquisite or something. He used extricate. I don't know. I need that guy back in here. I disagree because FSC farmers are the worst players and I don't want them in my arcade. I enjoy them going insane and repeating the same mission over and over. It's like their own personal hell they cast themselves into by being greedy and over-optimizing profit per time and then hanging 4 hours in heaven to reduce their profit per time to near zero. I've heard that there's some beef between Zozu and the Vanna farmers. Zozu, by the way, I like him because he sells recipes for the buy price. So if you ever need a recipe, you can trade with Zozu for the buy price, or I think it's 1k extra. So it's a great recipe trader. That being said, yeah, I don't understand the hate against FSC players. It's a bit much. Force everyone to start from depth 0 and reintroduce 100 daily mist energy to use for shortcuts and more crafts and Ember Light. Please no. Oh, for energy. Oh, for shortcuts. That's interesting. I mean, same problem. The rewards need to be worth it though. Real intro. Here's the recipe man, just plus 1k, I think. Yeah, still very affordable. 100%, because some recipes can double in price if they're on the auction house sometimes. Yep, I averaged that too. I exaggerated a bit too much, apologies, but a completely real. I believe that the arcade loot will be buffed longer before the forge system gets removed, if even at all, to be honest. I don't think they're gonna I don't think they're gonna remove the forge system. There's too much in it. I just can't. I don't know. Maybe they would, but I can't imagine it. It's tied to so much in the game. It'd be very hard to remove at this point. So in the meantime, buff the drop rate for those radiants too, I guess, even though I personally want the system removed. And yeah, who says that once the forge system gets removed from the game, the mist energy system will be re-implemented? I don't think the forge system was a good way to balance the game at all, really. It was pointless then, considering the abundance of crystals, if memory serves me right, especially radiants, one was able to earn, then might as well just use the heat system, only level up your gear, and that's it. Classic experience level up. but then eventually the drop rate was nerfed, so now it's just a bad and unfun way to retain players. A whole different discussion overall, though, so back to the issue at hand. Yeah, I think the Forge system would need a separate discussion outside of this. Yeah, see, Haddon, and then Zozo's jumping on the drama. We'll just skip over that. Anyways, back to the topic. My goat Raiden coming in, keeping us on point. Today, I logged on and I'm faced with the fact that I need a lot of Raiden Fire Crystals to level up like 3 weapons, and the only real solution is doing FSC over and over again. This just feels extremely bad for the players, and there are no alternatives. And no arcade in its current state is not realistic to grind in the situation, because it's going to take an ungodly amount of time to get enough Raidens for even one weapon. I get it that you want people to either grind or swipe and buy them from the supply depot, but the more realistic outcome is that people will opt for grinding FC, Burnout, and quit the game instead, which equals no profit for you. Yes. Does that mean grind in arcade instead of FC? That's all we ask for. Agreed. I think it's a simple solution. Just buff arcade and it solves a lot of problems. It might not be like the best solution for those other issues, but it definitely helps a lot. I met a toxic Vanna farmer for the first time, and man, just being slow got them foaming on his mouth. Yeah, there's some people like that. But I don't know. It's kind of the nature of like those more competitive styles of players. I think you just tend to run into more toxic types more often, which is annoying and unfortunate. But you can always just block them, mute them. Don't have to play with them again. It's fine. You just block them if you encounter one. Yeah, exactly. Now just run Vanna with guildmates and prioritize Crown Farm. Yeah, that's good. Good solution. We have alternatives, just that most of them aren't as good as FSC. Well, then that means that they're not alternatives. It has to be like almost as good or as good as FSC to be considered an alternative in my mind. Dreams and Nightmares is close to that, but Dreams and Nightmares is just frustrating to go through the first 3 floors, and it's very different each time, and it's not consistent. It's annoying. It's not worth it. That being said, gentlemen, I feel that all of our problems would disappear if the Iron Tech Destroyer were to receive a buff. So that would, it would apply, as the name implies, Destroy. Thank you for reading. I've learned that Spark of Kill is a bit more of a troll than I expected, to be honest, through my experiences with him. Being an FC farmer does not disqualify you from spending money on the game. That's not how logic works. Quitting the game, on the other hand, means you're spending 0, though. But sure, let's assume that all FC farmers are not spending a dime. We still want to keep them from quitting. They are still needed because the whales want an active public. You need FC farmers. You need active players. The game will die without it. It doesn't matter if they're spending money or not, to be honest. Like, a good game will have that, you know, it needs those people as well. I think. If the other bosses had 5 depths like Vanna, I would have suggested having tier 2, 3 versions of every boss random in the arcade. That'd be kind of neat. It could be cool. I find Dreams and Nightmares easier on solo and co-op. If there's a full party, the map expanded and takes longer. Yeah. I do it solo, but even that, it's just an annoying mission because of the variance that it has. Okay, I don't know how much I want to read of this, to be honest. I'm like committed. Oh, guys, we're only halfway down the page. This is insane. Do I read all of, like, some of this is just getting to drama. We're here for it. Fuck it. This is gonna be like a 2-hour video of me just reading this one forum post. This is insane. All right, guys, strap in. First of all, no one is putting words in your mouth. Second, yelling and ranting isn't an endearing trait, nor... Okay, wait, sorry, this is the wrong turn. Second, yelling and ranting isn't an endearing trait, nor will it make others more likely to take anything you have to say into consideration. That being said, I don't particularly like the Forge either, especially since you have to spend the maximum amount of fire crystals to ensure that your heating doesn't have a chance of failing. Then again, I wouldn't like any kind of system like that in any game, particularly because I hate gambling of any kind. I only barely tolerate it as is here. To be honest, if I had the time and patience, I'll be soloing FSC at least once a week, if not every few days. Sadly, I don't have that kind of free time in my life right now, and I quite frankly don't care very much for players who insist that you're doing it wrong if you aren't farming FSC their way. Yeah, I mean, each their own, it's fine. We've got food and drinks on the ready for this long topic, hell yeah. As I stated before, numerous times in numerous topics, the drop rate for all 6 types of fire crystals should be adjusted per stratum rather than having a flat and or fixed drop rate that only barely increases as you go further down into the clockworks. There's a bit too much random chance as to whether or not you'll actually find any flaws where they should appear on a semi-regular basis. That's why I like the idea that was posted earlier, I think from the original poster Raiden, of guaranteed rewards based on how many floors you've gone down, or like some system like that, where like they could even just do, you know how prestige missions, you have the floor at the end of the prestige mission, or the danger mission or prestige missions, that is just a guaranteed loot room and there's just a shit ton of boxes. Just have something like that. Just have the last floor in every stratum be a guaranteed loot room. And then, you know, you're always guaranteed like a set amount of loot. Maybe that's a problem because then people will duplicate lobbies and then just farm like the 2 floors to get into the loot room. So that has its own issues, but you know, something down that track. It's not so much burnout as it is redundancy inflicted boredom. Farming FSC gets very irritating after a while, especially when every member of the party has to schedule enough free time in advance to clear the run, and when everyone has to make sure they have a variety of gear to help clear the mission. I think you're just not farming it fast enough. Consider yourself fortunate. I calculated the average amount of crowns I'll need in order to buy the exact number of radiants I'll need for all my gear a little over 10 years ago. The amount has fluctuated rather wildly during that time, and I'm quite glad that it has dropped to be a somewhat reasonable value as of late, especially considering that it's based on the average price of CE in the energy market. FSC is the most appealing option for people trying to farm Radiance, but it is also unfortunately the quickest path to farming in depths 26-28 without having to go through all of tier 3 beforehand. At this point, unless you're also attempting to pick up a few high value recipes from Puzzle to resell in the auction house, farming FSC is more of a necessity than anything that I would consider a solution. The natural alternative that I would propose is that all of the later rate 9 and 10 missions, as well as 8 of the daily prestige missions and danger missions, have the locations adjusted to depths 26, 27, 28, so as not only give players a better challenge, but also break up the monotony of feeling like farming FC is the only way to obtain high level loot. I actually agree with this. This is a good point. I do think those later missions should all be bumped up in the depths. It doesn't make sense that they're so low. That would actually make a big difference for Radiance and that types of drops. That in itself would increase loot quite a bit. We just want Radiance to be as accessible as they were when they were first introduced, plain and simple. Buying them from the supply depot was, and always should have been nothing more than a last resort. There are plenty of things I've been wanting to spend money on and or in this game as far as back as 2014. Unfortunately, a logical decision back then basically killed off whatever motivation I had to throw what little disposable income I had towards the game. Same thing goes to the supply depot. I don't know about anyone else, but having to spend 6,300 plus CE just to fully level 1 5-star item is most decidedly not my idea of fun, especially when you're no longer guaranteed to get a bonus amount of CE with every prize box that you buy. I agree with that. It's not fun to spend that much. Okay. How accessible do you want Radiance to be? Completely unreachable because I don't want them in-game at all. Gone with the Forge to hell. Second, yelling and ranting is an endearing trait, nor will make others more likely to take anything you have to stay into consideration. Darling, oh my god. I'm not yelling. Guys, I need help reading this. I'm not yelling. This crappy overage forum web format doesn't underline. The principal function of underline is to emphasize importance. I'll be underlining the underline. I do not accept any change to crystal drop because I want this slog grinding predatory crappy overage systems out of the game. Underline, endearing enough. And I will run all I can for. I'll never tolerate predatory underhanded behavior. You can play as stoic as you wish. I'm not going to hide the fact that I will haunt those that try to take advantage of predatory systems. Keep it cool if you wish. I won't let anyone exploit others. Full stops in every I won't be cool with that. And spending money on a game should be for I want to look cute, not I need to pay to progress. Don't even try to refute this last argument. All right, I'm making an executive decision. I'm not reading any more of this guy's posts. It's just a waste of time. I'm gonna be so honest. This is just bad. I mean no offense to this person. I mean, yeah, I don't mean any offense. It's more just when you communicate with other people, you need to be conscious of how you're interpreted and the way that you present yourself. And I think the way that he's doing it is not conducive to making any meaningful points or movement. So there's really not any value in reading this. I've seen enough. Give Jason a complete total exemption of 3 days. He's gonna get hired at Grey Havens. Oh no. It's the next Grey Havens employee. It's a mod on the alt account. Fuck. Sorry, Grey Havens. I respect and appreciate all of you. Forever and always the last gasp of someone who never wants to be proven wrong. Where exactly do you think the money for this game's continued development comes from? The Grey Haven staff isn't sitting on an infinite cash flow, and no one anywhere is just giving away free bandwidth for online activities of any kind. First of all, having fire crystals of any kind in the game, much less the radiant fire crystals themselves, isn't predatory. In fact, with all the price gouging the user-run energy market and auction house that took over the last decade, the horrible, terrible, no good, very bad task of having to collect rarities for heating gear that you described is the least predatory thing going on in this game. Second, no one is forcing you to obtain and or use them at all. You're perfectly and completely free to play through the game without heating a single piece of gear and deal with all the consequences that come of that particular decision. What you will or won't accept is irrelevant. The Forge is not going away. Fire crystals are not going away. I mean, I don't know about that. Like, we're making suggestions. This is the forum to suggest things. If you have a problem with that, then I strenuously advise you to come up with a better solution because that's the only thing you've been doing so far is complaining. And by the way, pay-to-win mechanics have been around much longer than this game has existed. Someone else chooses to pay to progress in a game, but you don't want to, then how they choose to play through the game is not only not your concern, but it's also not interfering with their own ability to play. I don't know why I read that. It's just replying to the other guy. Preach. Yeah, I was thinking about commenting something along the lines of, God forbid someone has to play the video game in order to progress. In response to some of Joker Rhino's replies. Well, something tells me they're not the kind of person to listen to reason. I'm not saying that to be mean, it's just the way they express ideas and how they respond to criticism. There you go, that's what I was saying as well. And we move on. And so the thread to prevent the game from becoming stale and outdated is hijacked to become the thread about keeping the game stale and outdated. This game already lost so many players from Mist and forcing people to use premium currency. You know, side point, do you think they should, like, moderate the forums to an extent? Like, I wonder if we should have the Grey Haven staff like come in and like basically just stop this guy from being able to post for a while, you know, that type of thing. I'd be curious about people's opinions on that. I'm not saying specifically just this guy, but like, you know, anyone who's like acting up in the forums, that type of thing, where it's like no longer conducive to the point. Like at this point, this is derailing the point of the thread and just makes it worse, right? Like you can have this argument, but it doesn't make sense to have it in this place. Like it's not, you know. Yes, making sure kind of moderator. Hello, Snarby. Snarby with the redeemed egg. Hello. How's it going, Snarby? This game already lost so many players from Mist, and forcing people to use premium currency to craft items. Orb drop rates are abysmal if you try to get them without energy. Looks ugly too, so it's puzzling to see people argue that the current energy shenanigans are fine. No, but that's exactly why it's happening. All the players that don't like play to win left, and the people that remained are fine with it, not realizing the aggressive monetization turns people off. This is a good point. I've thought about this as well. I think like sometimes there's a lot of community backlash, particularly against like, okay, so Grey Havens have made the point in the past of they don't want to change the price of items like things like the Mixmaster because then it's going to really affect like these whales or people who have spent a lot of money in the game who want to resell those items. And so they basically agree to like never touch those items because they don't want to affect the value of it, which would screw those people over. Problem with that is, it is kind of this thing. It's like, well, the only people who are paying for it are those people who are, you know, willing to pay to win. And then that's the only people left that are in the community. That's the only feedback that you're seeing. And so then you're playing into like an aspect that's killing the game, in my opinion. Is like those ridiculous prices is part of the reason that people get turned off. But if you're talking to the community that's around nowadays, it's like a lot of those people are probably fine with the prices to some extent. They might be like, oh no, it's like, it's fair enough. Or we don't want it to change. That's what they might say. But it's like, well, it's probably not actually good to listen to them in this scenario because it's like, well, those people are, it's like, you know, you can't just listen to those people is kind of my point. I'm not saying to turn away from them completely. It's more just you got to be aware of those inherent, I suppose, biases that come through. And that's kind of like my concern sometimes. I will say Grey Havens has been releasing items at much lower price points and they've been re-releasing boxes, which is a turn from their previous approach, which was basically they don't re-release any boxes. So they've definitely changed on that point, and I think that's been really, really good for the game. Like super healthy. There's so many items that are much cheaper now. You can actually make some really cool looking sets for reasonable prices these days. Warframe is a good example. They made getting plat for free and buying plat to be super worth it. Yeah. There is quite literally no point in Spiral Knights where the player is forced to pay to progress. This is just replying to that J. Cronago. I'm just going to ignore that. Spiral Knights is an MMO. MMOs are notorious for being very grindy at times. Whatever stage of the game you're currently in, I can tell you for a fact that you're not forced to pay to progress. I agree to some extent with this as well, because he is right. I just think like some of the prices for some items, even when they're cosmetic, is a bit much. I will say, so I don't mind super expensive cosmetic items. Even though I personally don't like it, I don't think it's unhealthy for the game. I think it's unhealthy for a game when there's items like Mix Masters, items like totems that are ridiculously expensive, that your solution is basically either grind Vanajuk for 1,000 hours or just pay to win And I just don't like that. That turns me off from the game more than, you know, cosmetic items being expensive. I don't like it, but I don't care so much about that. But the gameplay aspects, yeah, I'm a lot more against that. I was just comparing the other day. Buying plat with IRL money is so much more worth than buying energy in Spiral Knights. It feels like such a meme. Yeah, buying energy in Spiral Knights really doesn't get you far. Like, for how much you have to spend, it's pretty shit. Paparochu, you seem to be completely overlooking the fact that energy can be attained with crowns via supply depot. Not only is the use of energy not required to progress, albeit it is the fastest way to get alchemy ore, but even if it was, which I agree would be wrong, you'll still be able to amass large amounts of energy even as a free-to-play player. I'm not overlooking it. It's still true that energy gain and thus game progression is still locked into someone paying. The price of energy could easily spike again if more players joined and threw the system to chaos. The energy prices you're seeing now are because of the low amount of players. You're also overlooking that progressing without buying energy is painfully slow and will make most people quit. It's not would, it does. This is a fact. Like, people quit the game a lot of the time. It's either the like 4-star or 5-star mark, which is a big shame because the game gets a lot more fun, in my opinion, once you hit 5-star. Because a lot of those weapons, like the way that weapons are designed is that the higher you upgrade them, as they upgrade those tiers, the weapon actually fundamentally changes. Just look at things like brandishes, for example. Having 5 explosions at the end of your charge compared to 4 is a big difference, and it makes a big change in the way that that weapon interacts with enemies. Even things like a blitz needle, like that the difference in the way that those shots come out and the amount of shots that come out is a big difference. Like, those upgraded weapons are big changes, and it makes the game a lot more enjoyable. And if you're grinding and the grind is not worth it and the game isn't as fun before that point, then that is a problem. Like, that's not worth it. Yeah, it will 100%. I waited for my birthday back in the day to buy energy progress past 4-star. Yeah, like, people just don't want to play it. Spent almost all of my 20k E on getting 5-star gear. Let's go. That's sad. All right, Sparky Gill, my 2 cents. I don't know, I feel like you two are just looking at it the wrong way. If a video game forces a player to purchase something in order to progress, yeah, I can understand why that would be a problem. But I'm telling you, Spiral Knights isn't one such case. Painfully slow is a but subjective. Even back when energy... I think... Let's keep reading. I'll add later. Even back when energy conversion was 8k crown per 100, getting a full set of 3-star gear wasn't that bad. Once again, this is an MMO. The jump from 3 to 4-star gear is when it starts to get a bit unreasonable. I agree. Cost of alchemy orbs is doubled, ranked missions reward the player with less, and the price of recipes jump considerably. It costs Defender Elite 50k crown for a full set of 4-star recipes. 40k if they only want one 4-star weapon. And all of that happens while there's basically no increase in crown income. That is a problem, I agree. You're still in tier 2, and Raumus Twins are generally a worse crown farm than Jelly King. The presence of premium currency isn't inherently a bad thing, especially in Spiral Knight's case where I would consider it to be extremely generous. I want to reiterate, there is no point in the game where the player is forced into a situation where the only way forward is to cough up a credit card number. Almost every single item in the game is obtainable for a free-to-play player. Spiral Knights is in essence a free-to-play game. MMOs traditionally get excessively grindy at times, and to an extent rightfully so. You wouldn't want a new player to reach Vanguard rank in less than a week. Slow progression isn't the issue, it's how enjoyable that progression is. Out removing the force system doesn't fix anything. The entire point of this post will suggest the idea of buffing alternatives to farming FSC, most notably the arcade, since it's accessible throughout every stage of the game. You know what? He's not... I was gonna disagree a lot more than I will now. It's starting to feel bad for whichever GM has to read through all of this. Half these replies have absolutely nothing to do with the issues Raiden was trying to address. Yeah, that's where it's kind of annoying when people go off topic a bit too much. This is kind of the point I was getting to. I think Spark has taken a bit more of a broader approach, which is smart. It's fair enough. But like, you know, let's say you have... That is a great straight line. Let's say enjoyment. Let's do fun. This is... You guys... Do you like my writing? Fun, and then... grind? You obviously want that to like... Do you want that? I'm thinking, is this... Am I visualizing this in the right way at all? I don't know if it is. Maybe this is not a good example. But there's a balance between fun and grind, right? I don't think this is it. I don't think this is making any sense, guys. I'm like trying to think what my point was in my head. The more fun we have, the more we're willing to grind. Yeah. There. Okay, yes. Thank you, Ziplex. The more fun it is, the more you are willingness to grind. Willing. Upside down I, don't worry about it. Willing grind. fun, willing grind. The more fun it is, the more you are willing to grind, basically. And the issue is that right now, it's kind of like this. Well, I would say it's kind of like this, to be honest. Let's say like this is like Black Cat, totems. This is like 5-star gear. And then this is like rest of game. It's all right. It's kind of fun. But at some point, this is like 3-star. At this point, you're like, okay, the game is getting grindy. Here, you're like, god damn, this is like 4-star. You're like, this is so grindy, and I'm not really having that much fun anymore. This is like, I'm at this level of grind, and I'm only at this point of fun. And then this is like, yeah, 5-star at like this point, like getting to 5-star, it's like super grindy and not that fun. This is a really bad. You guys understand what I'm saying though. You guys get it. And then after that point, it gets a bit more worthwhile. I would still say it's still very grindy for the amount of fun that you have, but it gets a lot closer to the ideal level. That's kind of the way that I visualize the game. This is so ugly. This is so bad. But that's kind of the way that I see what Spark is also saying, is like that you need to find that balance, and the balance is just not right there. If we buff the arcade and we buff the arcade even at those lower levels, it solves that problem of... This is where I'm like, I don't get why Spark is so like, the game isn't painfully slow, but then he's also saying the game is painfully slow. Because then he's saying that it should be buffed arcade to make it more fun. Because he's saying how enjoyable that progression is. So like, in my head, Spark is actually agreeing with everyone else. He's just saying it in a different way. So then it sounds like he's disagreeing, but I don't think he actually is. I think we're all on the same page, actually. When can I expect this on a t-shirt at the Arief merch store? One of these days. If I get... I'm close to 1,000 subscribers on the main channel. Let me get to 1,000 subscribers, then we start releasing merch. I'm gonna get 3 sales. Perfect. I'll have to like bulk order like 50 t-shirts. I'll sell 3 of them. I have 47 left in my closet. It's gonna be great. Most MMOs are dead. A majority of people don't want to grind a single player game to get with the rest of the play base, which is only doing level cap content. Interesting. That's funny. Personally, I feel like option 1 and option 2 should be deleted from Forge altogether since no one uses them anyway. As a compensation, option 3. Where are these options coming from? Who started saying options? What are you referencing, Grandish? No one said options. I don't know what you're referring to. As a compensation, option 3 could get a slightly reduced fire crystal cost to counterbalance the loss of cheaper options. I mean the 25% and 50%. Oh, okay. They should be deleted, yes. As a compensation, option 3 could get a slightly reduced fire crystal cost. I mean, that would be helpful. That's actually a nice solution. But also, we should get more drops anyway. Spark is responding to Jake Crino guy. Don't get me wrong, I don't exactly love the current Forge system either, although the second option is technically... Oh, Jake Crino used 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's why. And I just didn't respond to them. We're just gonna keep skipping over. It's fine. My Ascent, the Radiant situation. This is like shifted so much from arcade to Forge. The Radiant situation could be easily fixed by giving us the Radiant recipe. They could attach it as a reward in the last mission of the game so far. It could cost both 25 of Moonstone and 25 of Veilstone since these aren't useful sprite food. The problem is recipes for not Radiant, just all the crystals. They work backwards, right? The recipe for a 2-star crystal is 3-star crystals, when it should be recipe for 2-star crystals is a bunch of 1-star crystals, so you can go up. So a recipe for Radiant crystals would work if it was also the other way around, you know. Which is interestingly enough what they do in Titanium Warriors, the Chinese spin-off of Spiral Knights. Although it's even more grindy on that game, so yeah. They could lower the Forge cost if they don't play and buff in the arcade. I think buffing the arcade is the bigger solution. It's the better solution. They could do both, of course. I'd love if they would let you downgrade 5-star orbs, but I understand Grey Hammers would never let that happen. Downgrading 5-star orbs as well. If we could do that, orbs and radiance. Well, radiance already can get downgraded. Orbs, downgrading orbs, that would be huge. User suggestions forum and engage in suggestion threads. Actually, just any. Why can't we just combine orbs anyway? Why is there no backwards and forwards way to do it? I think Radiance should be backwards and forwards as well as orbs. Like if you have 3 4-star orbs, you should be able to convert that into at least 1 5-star orb. It's more a thing of like not having useless orbs. Like I'll have a bunch of like simple orbs that I don't need. And it's like if I could just combine them, at least I'd get some use out of them, you know? Use the suggestions forum and engage in suggestion threads if you want a voice to be heard. People have been preaching for a buff to radiant drops for as long as the system is out. Less about buffing arcade. It's unfortunate because I think changing various aspects of arcade might make it quite competitive with loot. Granted, most people will just say that Grey Havens doesn't read into those, and I'll give them that. It might be, in fact, true to an extent. Besides all of that, asking for nerfs to particular content after a decade of existing will only kill what remains of the playbase overnight. I'm also for moving the suggestions forum to be below the general forum. It feels like a second graveyard at this point. The forums are in a weird place, just generally. So there's a bunch of, like, if you go all the way up, go to the forums. Will this show me? If it loads? General, yeah. So you have all of these different sections. Basically, people don't really use anything outside of general discussion and maybe the bazaar. And it's kind of just a thing of like forums are just an old school media, like it's old school system that is just very underused nowadays. And so now most people are just looking in like the one spot is kind of the way that people do things. The forums just as a way to get these ideas across might need to be changed anyway. But that's why people put things in the general place rather than suggestions, because you just get more eyes on it. So I don't think it's an issue. Make a forge NPC appear at random chance in the arcade like Basil, and you can go there to forge your gear for discount. Will be interesting. I'd love for more reasons like that to go to tier 1, tier 2 arcade. I also think they should update Basil to have more recipes. I think with the introduction of all the gun recipes, I think they need to up the recipe rates. I don't know. I honestly, actually, I don't know. Because if you update recipe rates, then reselling the recipes becomes more of an issue again. And I think reselling recipes is a fun idea. Problem is we just don't have enough of a player base to make reselling recipes work. That's the issue of reselling recipes. So I don't know. Actually, I don't know where I sit with that. Maybe add more recipes for Basil, given the current state of the game. 50% of the armor in the game is gunner armors now. Yeah, it's bad. Oh well, not that I don't prefer to keep topics in the proper forums, but I think it's kind of inevitable. Like, who cares, man? The admins can move it if they want to or not. Like, guys, like, why are we? How have we gone from buff arcade to yelling at each other to talking about Radiance and talking less about arcade to talking about where the post has been made? Like none of that matters, guys. Focus on the main topic at hand. Okay. Then we had Cleaver. Folks, thank you for all your comments and suggestions in this thread. We are aware of this issue and been discussing it for a while, not least in light of your comments. We don't yet have any fix. It's complicated and we don't want to make things worse. But we hope to ship some changes that will encourage playing all aspects of the game, not just one part of the end game. Bear in mind that we are still in the weeds of updating the game's core technology, which will be a big win for everyone, but it turns out it is a big job. Once we're through that, we'll be able to focus on this problem as the next big thing. I do think... I don't know. I feel like buffing rates for things surely it can't be that hard. I guess you do have to think it out though, because you don't want to change things in a bad way. They could make all type of fire crystal drop be tradable so that people who have a huge supply can make a profit, but that will ruin the current market. Yeah, I actually don't hate that idea. That's not a bad idea to make everything sellable. I like that actually. That would be nice. Including sparks of life as well, I think. Perhaps one day. I appreciate the update in the game's direction. Really glad to hear that helping the endgame is next in line, because I think making the gameplay loop fun in the long term is one of the biggest things that needs to be fixed right now. While I'm here, I'd like to add some points from a post I made last year about fixing this issue. FSC payouts are huge compared to the rest of the game because it has a ton of enemies to drop crowns. The boss tokens are worth like 1k crowns each. The clover boxes throughout the mission and especially after the boss give a lot of valuable rarities and crowns. Not only that, but the mission letting you skip the entirety of Stratum 5 is arguably the most influential part due to how it causes loot to scale. This time, I'd also like to emphasize the importance of the Stratum 5 skip. It literally only accounts for 1/4 of my usual depth 18 to 28 payouts, despite being half the journey. Improving Stratum 5's value would do wonders for the arcade, but even still, there needs to be something that encourages finishing the whole tier rather than just the first stratum. I think adding a new type of token that players get by reaching an arcade checkpoint, like a terminal, Emberlight, the core, etc., would be a great incentive to run an arcade. This would be exchanged for a plethora of unique items, including silver shadow keys, unique armor. That's an interesting idea. The tokens players get from checkpoints would probably need to be mutually exclusive for nearby boss tokens, however, because otherwise it'd be more profitable to just run whichever gate has a boss there. To be clear, I think major checkpoints like the start or end of a tier should get a lot more tokens than the terminals to encourage finishing the even stratums too. Shadow keys being a token reward would be awesome. I don't want to get rid of the cool factor that comes from them being rare, but it sucks that I have to shell out a bunch of money just to run one of the most unique parts of the game. Clockwork tunnels would benefit from having much shorter hallways, more enemies within reason, more rooms, etc. It's too common for them to generate really boring levels. This, oh my god. This is what I was saying at the start. Clockwork tunnels levels, god, they're just so boring nowadays. I don't know. They're so boring. They need a revamp, like, hard, please. Please get mappers to work on this. Rest of the ideas, I don't think these are bad ideas. I think, however, that this is just a more complicated solution than what has been suggested earlier, and it feels unnecessary. I think just buffing drops, having more rewards is a lot more interesting. Not more interesting, but a lot more easier thing to implement and just generally more rewarding. It's also less reliant on like one item, you know, type of thing, like having to get that key. It's like, I don't know. I don't hate the idea. I think it's a good idea. It's just, personally, I think the idea suggested by Raiden at the start, it seems a bit better. And I love the idea of like tracking enemy kills or tracking floors completed, that type of thing, to give you set rewards as well. I think that's good. W. Cleaver, first of all, thank you as well for reading and acknowledging us. Pog, I personally don't expect fixes overnight, and I'm aware things could get complicated, but it's a huge thing to know you are looking into this matter and are planning some changes. It is pretty big, to be fair. I agree. Lastly, thank you for updating this game's direction. It is much appreciated. Keep up the great work. I'm really liking this Raiden guy. Seems very sensible. It'd be like UV tickets at Equinox. Arcade tokens is interesting, actually. It'd be like boss tokens. It would be interesting. People already speedrun for boss tokens. That would feed into the same mindset, though, I guess. Yeah, I feel like it encourages some other issues. I think, like, it's also, if you're going for, like, this one drop, then it's less, there's a part of, like, I think it's just the way that people want to play a game. There is a bit of a difference. I think you definitely want some things in the game to be, like, you get a unique reward from this enemy, and that's interesting, that's fun. But at the same time, you need those like filler enemies. You need just your everyday enemies to feel rewarding as well, so that you feel incentivized to kill them, to get loot. And if you push too much in the direction of having like a token or some sort of like one isolated reward, it's a lot less enjoyable to do those other things or to do the other fights, you know? Then you're just like waiting around to get to that last thing. And obviously that encourages that speedrunning issue again. But it's just a different, you know, like there's a difference in the way that the game gets played at that point. And I think rewarding just playing the game generally is a better system, in the sense of like make everything valuable is better than having just like one certain thing valuable. I do think unique items are great, amazing, but I don't think it should be the core thing that makes things worth your time. I think there needs to be just a general basis of like, this is worth my time doing, and there should be value and rewards given every single time for it. Yeah. Crazy thing. You know what the crazy thing is? Hearing that Grey Havens is aware of the issue and has plans to address it at some point is amazing. It gives us hope. The updates to Java networking so far have been amazing, and many returning players are elated that they don't rubber band into fire in Vanna every single run. I love that Cleaver and Clotho will be around the community relatively more often, as hearing from the developers is always encouraging. As many others have said, even if Vanna remains the most efficient, if Arcade even came close to the amount of crowns an hour that Vanna has, many people will be running it instead. We love the clockworks in Arcade, and the only reason why most of us don't regularly do it is it's not a good use of our limited time. Looking forward to the future of this game. Yeah. Nice little point. What a thread so far. My goat rephrasing! I'm completely late to this thread, but here's my thoughts on it. I also agree that it'd be a great idea to buff the arcade, either loot or flat rewards in some manner, or at least rival Vanajuk runs, as well as buffing other places of interest like other bosses, shadow lairs for drops crowns. On paper, it'd be a good solution to motivate players to do other content besides the same grind for loot. However, going back to the OP's post, yeah, Players optimize the game for maximum profit in the shortest amount of time. This creates a problem with trying to come up with a solution. Players have been doing Vanadric runs since it came out, and it used to take much longer. A lot of us veterans have been around to see both the speedruns and average runtime of them cut down to frankly incomprehensible times over the course of the years. That's because the player base was given so much time to do exactly one mission and to get better at it. Just off the top of my head, we've broken down spawning mechanics to get them to spawn consistently, figured out the best possible weapons to use in what situation, normalized and exploited bugs that we now consider a feature because we know it works reliably with the game coding. We're definitely not supposed to be hiding inside the boss, yeah. Discovered out-of-the-box strategies now everybody does because it shaves down time. In buffing other content, the fine-tuning of what will be considered balanced or even close to Vanadric is actually overwhelmingly difficult to gauge. We haven't done most of that in any places of the game, so even if the theoretical profit is greater than Vanadric, we won't be coming close to beating it, and most people still default to Vana for years to come, as many of us can run it completely brain off now. And if we do make it more immediately, that will just become the new Vana, and we'll optimize the heck out of that too. That just means it'll be even more busted than current Vana is in retrospect to crown generation. I think it's definitely possible, but this change requires big commitment and long-term monitoring. I don't think it's really an issue. Again, I don't think Vana, like farming Vana, if you're a speedrunner and you're running Vana, like it is a lot of crown generation. Don't get me wrong, but you're still farming Vana a lot. And even to get to the point of having like fast Vanadric runs, you're dropping a lot of crowns to get unique variants, like get good gear, to get totems, to get Black Cat. It's a lot of commitment to get to that point anyway. I think if you buff Arcade and make it comparable or even better than running Vanadric, even if you're like running it super fast, like I think it should be better than that. Obviously, we are going to optimize it later down the track, but the thing is, like we're optimizing Arcade, which is a lot more random, has a lot more variety. So it's I don't really think it's an issue in terms of like being boring or like get into the issue of optimization. It'll be a lot harder to optimize as well. And it's a new challenge. It's a new thing to optimize. I think that's a lot of fun. I actually think the optimization of the game that has happened is a lot of fun. And that's like what brought a lot of players to the game or kept people around. I think that's interesting. I also think if it starts off like the rewards are better than current day speedrunning Vana methods, people are incentivized to do it. And then they get better and better and they optimize it more and more and crown generation gets more stronger. I don't see that as an issue, to be honest. With current prices for items, I could see like 15,000 crowns. Like I could see doubling Vana rewards still being healthy for the game. I don't think that's going to like warp the game. I think if you halve the time for farming for anything, you'd still be fine. Like I think we're a long way away from reaching the point of like crown generation being an issue, in my opinion. I don't think we're there. Like buffing Arcade and then that getting optimized, I think will still be fine. I will say it is very, very hard though. There's a lot to consider. So you guys don't know, what you can do is you can duplicate runs. Basically, you invite a bunch of alt accounts to an Arcade floor. You get onto the elevator, go down a floor, you like prep them, and then you can split off, go solo, and then rejoin like the party, basically, like that type of thing. Or like you join the alt accounts, or the alt accounts go solo, beat one floor, and then you can join each of those alt accounts. And that's what you do to like farm events. For example, like the Halloween event, or to farm arenas. That's like in the game currently. And if we buffed Arcade to an extent, that might become an issue. Like those things will cause problems. Like those exploits, which are on the, like you'd have to say they're exploits. I don't think that's really like intended way to play the game. I don't think it's like a fun, like hiding in the boss feature that we're considering, like a bug that's a feature. I think that's just straight up an exploit. I don't think it's punishable at this stage because it's not that big of an exploit, but I think that could become an issue if we buff the Arcade. Because then, yes, people will be running, you know, doing the alt account duplication to run arenas, which would give you obviously the highest amount of crown generation. And then that's just not a fun way to play the game, and optimizing the game in that way is just not fun for people, because turns out running like 16 alt accounts at the same time and then toggling between all 16, it's just not that fun to do. And then if that's the best way to make crowns, then it's not fun to make crowns. But then there's always people that are doing it. So then you have to compete against the people who are doing it. That becomes an issue in its own right. So Ref does have a point. Like, it definitely will need monitoring, and it is a bigger commitment than we might be suggesting. Like, it sounds simple to be like, oh, why don't they just buff the drop rates? But that will cause problems. Given that those exploits exist in the game now, they'd have to find a way to deal with those exploits, I think. And then obviously, people will find other ways to exploit things, and so it will need monitoring. Some of the other points that he said, though, I disagree with a little bit. I don't think, like, general crown generation, I don't think will be too much of an issue. Buffing enemies more often than not ruins the fun. Shadow Lair is a perfect example. That's a fair point, yeah. When Shadow Lairs got buffed and they were like super tanky, people didn't enjoy it. People got really mad about that. I personally would enjoy it. I'm a fiend for the difficulty thing. Maybe I wouldn't enjoy it that much, actually. I love playing the game where you play it fast and you just like one-shot enemies. So maybe I'm capping right now and I actually wouldn't enjoy it. So maybe you're right, Riku. That does need to be something to consider. Don't go too crazy with the enemy buffs. With Heat and Krogmo coin boosters, why aren't there crown boosters? Okay, Ekna. How are you paying for the crown boosters? Are you perhaps using crowns to buy your crown boosters? It's like a cyclical problem. That'd be interesting. I don't know if it would work, but that could be cool. What if you get like an arcade booster that boosts all the crowns you get from arcade? Yes. All right, last one. We made it to the end. Thanks are in order for posting an enticing enough iteration of this discussion in the subsection of the forums, most likely to be actually be read by the devs. This opened up the opportunity not only for good discussion with the community, but an actual dev reply. Cheers, friend. My Rosa will get a cleaver. Thank you so much for sparking new hopes in the discussion. I don't know if similar promises were made in the past, but it doesn't seem like it. My best wishes to the team in their current undertaking with modernizing the game. I can't imagine working with the code in the old greases the operation in any way, but you're still doing it. I cannot wait for the Mission Arcade updates you guys may have in store. Here's to the future of Spiral Knights. Hell yeah. We love our positive things. Added to the monthly tax of paying for tokens. Not tokens, the trinket slots and weapon slots. Infinite crown glitch for the devs. Could be a random boss drop or a Brinks token thing. That could be cool, a Brinks thing. Brinks is very underused. Bringing more things with Brinks would be cool. Anyway. Fun post, fun to read through. A lot in there, a lot of ideas. I do think the forum post has kind of strayed away a lot from the initial point, but you know, it was there. Do we want to read this one as well? Suggestions for guild activities? I don't think I'm reading it. It's okay. We've covered enough. We've done enough. If you're watching this on YouTube, let me know if you enjoyed it. If you want to see more, I mean, I guess I'll see based on the amount of views that this gets, whether it's worth me doing this more often. But we might do this more often. I mean, obviously this is quite a rare thing. It's not like forum posts get a lot of interaction in the first place. So I don't think I'll be doing this a lot, but maybe some like deep dives into some discussion points, anything that's, you know, past like 25 replies or something like that. Maybe it's worth us just hopping in and doing a bit of an overview or chat. Sorry, I just like burped in my mouth. That was gross. I don't know if that came through on the mic. I'm hoping it didn't, but if it did, I'm sorry. Yeah, I always enjoy a bit of a yap session. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. And thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next, probably the next video will be this week in Spiral Knights. Or on the main channel. Go over to the main channel because I should be dropping Heart of Ice at some point. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know if you like this in the comments below. If you don't, that's okay as well. Bye-bye.